Today we are going to be looking at not one, but two iconic New Balance silhouettes, the 475 and the 574. Hello and welcome, this is Best Foot Forward Shoes. My name is Harrison Cable. Thank you so much for checking out this video. And today, yes, we are going to be breaking down these two models, which they do look very similar. They do have certain characteristics that I am going to talk about. I'm going to have a pros and a cons list and basically talk a little bit about the origins of these shoes, their use cases, and why I think one is better than the other. To me, these shoes look very different. They feel very different as well on feet, as I will explain later. But to the kind of everyday person who is perhaps just getting into sneakers, they might not know the difference between the 475 and the 574 and where they fit in the New Balance lifestyle program of shoes. So let's jump straight in. This is the 475, a retro running model which came about from New Balance in the 1980s and was pretty much designed for marathon running, long distance endurance running, and pioneered their C-cap technology, as you can see by the branding on the outsole right here. The technology and materials has pretty much remained the same since that time. However, there have been certain material upgrades. Of course, there are different manufacturing processes in place right now which will have upgraded some of the construction process of the shoe, but however, the design and the overall function is pretty much the same. A lot of people now use these for more of a lifestyle walking situation. I know I do. I would not go running in these. There are far more made for purpose shoes that New Balance and other brands make. However, the performative history of this shoe gives us a good understanding as to how to use them now. So let's start with the pros. To me, one of the pros is the price of these shoes. So you might have seen last year there was a collaboration between Armand Leon Dore. There was also another collaboration with End Clothing in the UK on the 475 model, as well as a bunch of different GR colorways. I did do a review on the green one here on this channel. There was also a blue and a purple and a white colorway as well. So they're definitely pushing this silhouette as more of a classic style, budget friendly shoe. These retail brand new for $180 Australian, and you can even find some of the models on sale now for about $130, so below $100 in the US currency. And I haven't seen any of these models sell out, so the hype for these ones is not quite there yet. However, the price is kind of reflective of the material quality, which I'll get to into the cons. Another pro, due to the lack of material on the shoe, it is very light, so you're not really getting weighed down by a big bulky shoe. It is very, very lightweight. It is also very breathable and comfortable, so you are getting a lot of benefits for having a lightweight and shoe that has less materials in it. The last pro that I can think about is that these are not quite yet incredibly mainstream. The 574 is a model that is very mainstream. However, the 475 in its kind of unique way has a different sort of style to that shoe. And I think if you're trying to set yourself apart perhaps from the everyday kind of wearers, this is a shoe that you should probably consider, because if you're wanting to have something a little bit different, I think this shoe does offer that kind of variety. With the cons, however, of this shoe, as I said, the build quality is not quite there because of the lack of materials and also the lesser price. I say lack of build quality, however, New Balance on the scale of other brands are far better than say the lower end Nikes and Adidas. I consider New Balance at this range much better than any sort of Nikes that might be considered budget friendly, just because of the time and effort I feel that New Balance puts into their silhouette, and the materials on this are also a lot better than those other brands. Because it's not super popular as well, I think there are less colors and there's also less color combinations around, so you're pretty limited to kind of the blue, the green, the white, and those sort of overall primary colors. There's not a huge amount of crazy colors of this shoe, but I think that's the style that they're going for, a more refined color palette that people can pair with most outfits. The last con I can think about is the sole pattern. So it's not incredibly grippy. It does have certain lugs around the side here, but it is not meant for trail running or hiking or something like that. You're not going to get a superior performance when it comes to grip on this 475 model. Moving along to the 574, this is pretty much the shoe that you think about when you think of New Balance. I think that this is the most iconic sort of silhouette. This is the 574 Legacy version, so there is a little bit of extra dual density foam around the back of the heel here and a little bit around the ankle here as well. However, the 574 Legacy and 574 are so close together that I would consider them to be similar enough for this experiment. This is the 574 Legacy collaboration with Stone Island, which I picked up last year, and this shoe was definitely one of my favorite shoes, and it is definitely incredibly comfortable and a shoe that you could wear all day. So let's get into the pros. First one is that it's an iconic silhouette. It is definitely one of the shoes that people can immediately see and immediately think of New Balance, and if you're wanting that classic style with your outfits, this is definitely a shoe that you can pick up and people will instantly recognize it as being a New Balance shoe. It is also more popular than the 475, so there are going to be a lot of different colors. You think of a color and a color combination, this shoe has it. So when you're trying to find the perfect shoe for that perfect outfit, I think the 574 is definitely the shoe that you can look to fulfill that need of finding a shoe with different colors for different outfits. The other pro is that there is also a lot more padding on these ones. So around the front of the toe and also around the ankle, there is a lot more padding than you would find on the 475. There are more layers on this shoe, so you are going to get better weather protection from any sort of mud or rain that is trying to get into the shoe and obviously ruin your socks and wet your feet. So this shoe is definitely one of those ones that I would consider a little bit more sturdy than the 475. And that kind of leads me into the con, where these shoes are a little bit more expensive, roughly around the 220 Australian range for a brand new silhouette. However, you are going to find a lot of different colors on sale, so you can take that into account. But the baseline GR version is around about the $200 range. So as you would expect for that extra price, you are going to get extra build quality and extra materials on it. One con that I also found was that these shoes fit me a little bit too tight. So in most other New Balance shoes like the 1906 or the 530 or even like the made in USA models, I pretty much go with true to size. And this shoe, I feel like I have to size up just a little bit because they are a little bit snug around the front here. That might be due to the extra padding. So I went with a size 9, which is 42.5, and I probably should have gone with a size 9.5. So you need to factor that in to your decision when you're trying to get these ones. They are very wide foot friendly. That would definitely be a pro. But again, the con is that they are a little bit more expensive and they do fit a little bit tight. And again, you can take that advice with a grain of salt. This is my personal experience with these shoes. Everyone's feet are different. Everyone has different sort of arch support needs and different width on their shoes. You might have some issues with bunions or something like that. So everyone's got to kind of take that into account when you're thinking of buying one of these two shoes. But like I said before, these two shoes are incredibly similar in their sort of silhouette, in their use case as well. And you're pretty much weighing up your options about price and build quality versus ruggedness and style choice. So I feel like you really can't go wrong with these options. And I feel like the more that the 475 gets released from New Balance and the more time they put into it, I feel like eventually it could perhaps rival the 574 for its contemporary style. I think the 574 will always stay the most iconic New Balance. I don't think it's ever going to get dethroned from that spot. But however, the 475 is basically as good as you're going to get for at least $50 to $60 less. So overall, two incredibly good options right there. Let me know in the comments down below which one of these you have, which one you prefer to wear, and which one you think that New Balance can put a little bit more time and effort into. My Instagram is just down below. I will be posting a bunch more content about these shoes and other shoes as well, so go check that one out. Subscribe to the channel. Please like the video as well. It definitely does help the channel grow. So thank you so much to everybody. We've been doing a few podcasts lately as well, so thank you so much to everybody for watching those. Thank you so much to everybody for watching the video and supporting the channel. You have a good day.